Welcome to Industry Talk. Yes, welcome to Industry Talk. I don't know if that's what we're going to call it.
I was really stumped. That was what I meant. Like, I don't even know how to start this. So, welcome, Patreons, to the, I guess, Industry Talk. Fuck it. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We're doing some shop talk.
Name pending, TBD.
Yeah, we're doing some shop talk.
Matt Santia has stayed after. We just finished up recording our episode 3. Thank you, Matt, for coming out.
No
and doing
problem.
That with
Thank
us.
you for having me.
So I asked, Joe and I here asked if you would stick around and kind of chat with us a little bit about being on movie sets. Remind everybody again what it is that you do in the industry.
So I'm primarily a screenwriter. I also direct and act, but for me, screenwriting has been my ticket into breaking into the industry, I should say.
Same order too, by the way.
Oh, I did.
You thought I forgot.
I did. Yeah, there you go.
Nicely done, sir.
But yeah, so I actually, the movie that made me want to be a writer, oddly enough, Scream.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just so
Beautiful.
smart. It's just so smart, and it takes a genre and it turns it on its head. And I remember watching it in high school. I think I went to go see it. I think I wasn't even in high school. I was in junior high. Saw it 9 times in the theater.
Wow.
And I knew I wanted to write, even though at the time I wanted to act.
times.
9
times.
9 times. I wanted to act, but writing for me was something like I mentioned before. Actors don't get a lot of control, so I thought I'm gonna write. So I move out to LA. I'm like 20 years old. I go to USC, and USC is incredibly intimidating because you're going to class with these people who grew up with cameras. You know, they've had cameras since they were little kids. They knew how to edit. At the time, it was Avid. You know, everyone was editing it.
Right.
They knew how to do that stuff. They grew up with those machines. They knew that stuff. So it's like really intimidating for me, and I just couldn't hang out there. I loved it out there. I just couldn't hang, and I moved back home, and I thought my career was over. I thought there's no way you're going to make it in the industry. The industry's out in LA. You're not there. You had all these opportunities and you squandered them. And I thought there's no way I'm going to make it. And actually a friend of mine hired me to write a short for her. And that was my first paid gig.
Oh, okay.
After 10 years of doing it, I want to say. 10 years of writing.
So you were in LA 10 years after school?
No, I was in LA from 2003 to 2010 or 11. 2011. Okay. I graduated 2009. But I mean, I've been writing since I was a kid.
It's funny,
you know
you were
what I mean?
basically in LA the whole time I was in Florida.
Okay.
2003, 2010.
Yeah. And so I would say it's about 10 years of me doing it seriously until I got paid.
Jesus. What was that short?
It was for a clothing line called Drama Queen. It was a like a infomercial kind of. And like me thinking, okay, I'm going to write these great movies. I'm going to write these, and I am writing this infomercial, but it's like, as a writer, you need to take every single job you can get. And it's not selling out. It's not selling yourself short. It's like, so you can understand the form and the format of different kinds of writing. And you need to do that. And it makes you better.
Are there particular screenwriters that you have looked into as far as inspiration or style, or do you kind of just...
I mean, it's tough. There are certain screenwriters, like for me, like Aaron Sorkin, the way that he writes dialogue, you can't really find many people that write dialogue. Like The Social Network, to me, is a masterclass in dialogue writing.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Very
you know,
true.
I find movies that inspire me, and then I find like aspects of that film that I love. I
watched that recently, and it had been since theaters since I had seen it, and I was like, hey, fuck it, I'll watch this. I was really surprised how dialogue driven it really was. A lot of the scenes took place in conversations, long extended conversations,
but not boring.
No,
the
not
way
at
that
all.
he writes dialogue,
Very naturalistic.
It's
interesting.
It really is inspirational. And then, like, a lot of times I'll take inspiration from novels.
Okay.
Like Oscar Wilde. He's just so... Like, Oscar Wilde just has all of these just intricacies about him and the way that he writes and the way that he was, like, persecuted, and he deserved it, man. He was a dick, but he was phenomenal. He was a great writer. So there's certain writers that I find, but a lot of times it is novels or Murakami. Murakami is one of my absolute favorite novelists.
I have just recently gotten into Murakami.
Yeah. Yes.
I started with 19
like 19
Q1
Q4.
Yeah.
It's 19 Q4.
Yeah.
It's
1984.
replaceable 84.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then which was a incredible book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book that I don't think you could ever do as a movie.
And that's what the little people, right? The little
Yes.
people. Like, you feel like you gotta like whisper because they'll hear you,
Yep.
and they're so
It
scary.
introduces a whole different world. You got the second or third moon. I don't remember how many moons, but yeah, the whole thing. The other book that I read was something about sheeps, and then there was a sequel to it. It was about the hotel.
Yes, I don't remember.
I don't remember the names of them, but his stories are so unique. Like I really don't know how to even describe the book to somebody.
Yeah, to me, like I just read one by him called The Wind Up Bird Chronicle, and it's about a guy who's
on my list.
It's amazing. It's a guy's cat goes missing basically, and then his wife goes missing, and then it's almost like if David Lynch were to write a book.
Yes,
That's how I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, Maruka Murakami is fascinating, and
Yeah,
his
not
books
read
are.
any.
Oh man, the one that I would say, like, if I haven't read his whole bibliography yet, so of the ones that I've read, I would recommend that you start with 19Q4 because it's altogether strange and engrossing at the same time. The lead is a female assassin who lives her life as a masseuse and a dancer.
Okay.
And she just kills men. And second to that, the male lead is, I forget what he does in life. Most of them are writers. Most of his characters are writers. So I think he might be a writer.
So
in
we
some way.
should read. We should read him.
100%.
Yeah, so I find for me
100%.
when I'm lacking, and I think even Stephen King said something along the lines. It's like if you're looking for inspiration, read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
as a writer, that's the best thing
Stephen
you can
King
do to get
is
rid
one of the
writer's
things that
block.
I had,
Yep.
where because I don't fancy myself a writer, right? I can conceptualize a concept, but then from there, it's like I really don't want the responsibility of the in betweens. But coming up with stories is fascinating and fun, and Stephen King had said that he just sits and reads like newspaper headlines, and then just takes that, or what am I afraid of, and then elaborates on that, like Salem's Lot, no, Pet Cemetery. A similar situation with his son had occurred, and he was like, "Oh my God, if my son had died," and then he just
took it to the extremes.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, drawing on life experience is amazing.
Yes.
Do you fancy yourself a Stephen King fan?
Okay, so again, like the Coen brothers, I have mass amounts of respect for him. The way that he churns out stuff, and it's good quality stuff. But I've only actually read like two books by him.
I've only recently
one I
started
loved,
reading him.
and the other one not so much for me. Again, I appreciate it. So I read, but my one of my best friends, she got me his book on writing. I think it's called On Writing.
Okay.
And it's phenomenal. So like that's more of like a biography, but it's also like a how-to kind of thing too. And that was phenomenal. I love that stuff. It's just he's so dense. He's so dense for me.
I grew up with Stephen King, and my dad was a big appreciator. The Green Mile, all of them, really. There's too many to name, right? And
There are quite a few.
We've been at it for a while tonight. So my dad had all these hardbacks that I would read, when I was younger. So I started with Tolkien, and then Stephen King, and some Dean Koontz, some Tom Clancy. You know what I mean? And Clancy's really where I'd split ways with my dad. Not that it's bad writing, but that's not the kind of writing I was into. I really more liked the fantasy. I really, Tolkien was my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
So, but Stephen King was always a very close second when I was younger. Like now, it didn't follow me into old age or anything. Not that I dislike him any. He's still very inspirational to me. It was great, but he's limited to me. Like as an adult, like he's very, like the kind of fear-based writing he's doing is
He tortures children a lot.
Yes, yeah, and it's because he felt that kind of fear and torture as a child, and as a parent through his children, he was scared for them, right? So there's a lot of that, but yeah, it just became a little juvenile for me, especially since I was exposed to it at a young age. You know what I mean? So I mean, I read it myself. It wasn't forced upon me. Like,
Right.
there were books on the shelf, and I read them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No, he definitely has a thing with putting children in danger. He does it quite a bit. Where do you find yourself leaning when it comes to your writing, as far as topics or narratives?
I think like primarily most of what I've written has been thriller based. We're working on If I Can't Have You, Chasing the Ghost. We're working on a third script right now called The Spider, the Fly, and I, which Calvin he calls our trilogy. It's our trilogy.
nice.
So that's kind of what I've been doing, but like. I actually, when I first got started, I primarily got hired to write stories that were based off other people's lives.
Okay.
And which is really interesting. You know, you are trusted. Somebody entrusts you with their life stories and their events, and I mean, for me, this incredible reverence that I have for that. So the first story was my best friend's Kyle Couch, his wife, and I met them when I'm a recovery addict as well, and I was in it's a homeless shelter to recover, and it's called Grace Centers of Hope, and it's a great.
I'm familiar with Grace Centers of Hope.
It's great. But I met somebody there who had gone through the program, and he was working. His name's Kyle Couch. So his wife had gone through quite a few series of events, and she's been through quite a bit. And so I wrote it about her, and we actually entered into this competition, and we won first place, and we got out to Sundance for it.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's called The Eulogy, and so I wrote
Nice.
I wrote that, and that led me into writing a script called Life Prescribed, which is about another individual's life and struggle with drugs. So I wrote that, and then actually I was hired by this businessman to write his life story. So I spent a whole year writing his life story. So, and that script isn't out yet. I don't know if it ever will be, but it was a great experience for me. But that was primarily my beginning phase, was writing like stories based off other people's like true stories.
Well, it seems to me like, just from your list, from our discussion earlier, and the Unorthodox Film Podcast, that like you like personally films that evoke emotion, a script that evokes emotion.
100%.
So definitely influences. It comes through in your writing that you're trying to get some kind of pivotal emotional reaction from your audience. So I think like starting with thrillers, and doing those and growing into more like subdued emotional, like I see the path you're painting for yourself, and I like it. I think it's good.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think for me, a film above all else should evoke emotion, and whether you are laughing, crying, it should get you, and that's kind of what I would like to do eventually. Is kind of take these true stories that are like drama based and kind of a little bit with the thriller, but not so much like character studies. Like that to me is like fascinating.
That's what I'm referring to, is how you said, like, obviously any creative filmmaker is trying to evoke emotion of some sort, but you said like real and almost surprising emotion, like you don't see it coming, like it's unexpected, even though it fits within the realm of the plot, and like so it's and I think you do it well.
Oh, thank you.
I know you did that well in our script for Nightcap. Once we got to our third draft, which is ultimately kind of the final draft until we really get the ball rolling with the right voices in the right seats and do a table read where people, bring the characters actually to life.
Yeah. Let me see.
But I think you paint a canvas that makes it easier for the actor to come and make it their own.
And that took me a while too when I first started writing. And I know for a lot of writers out there that are starting out, you don't know how much to write. You don't know how much is too much, and you got to figure out a way that's like a happy medium to where you're giving the actor suggestions on what they should do, but you're not directing them. Same with the director, you're giving them suggestions, and you're painting a sketch. Like a script is a blueprint first and foremost. So you're painting a sketch for the director, but you don't want to over direct. So you got to find that happy balance, and I think that it comes with finding your voice as a writer, and don't give up, man. Don't give up.
Do you find, or have you found yourself writing scripts down that never see the light of anyone's day?
I've been pretty lucky. I have a script that I've written that I wrote for my thesis project at for grad school that probably will never get made, and it was terrible trash, terrible trash. But it got me to the next script, which wasn't so terrible trash, and I think that's what I think a lot of people don't get is that you might write something, you might not see the light of day, but it's preparing you for that script that will see the light of day,
right?
And people are going to want to watch it, and so I've been lucky. Most of my stuff has been produced. I most of the time get hired to write, a particular project. So I'm very lucky. Again, after 15 plus years, you know what I mean? But there's not a whole lot of times that I write something and I think like this is never going to be seen, because for me, you can figure it out. You have friends in the industry, or even if you don't have friends, get a camera, get an iPhone, shoot on that. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Man, sometimes I just start talking without thinking what I'm going to say. I knew what I was going to say.
I got something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I know we're focusing on you being a writer, but you're also a director and actor. And we will talk about that when we have you on future episodes. You can go down those avenues. But is there anything, since this is our first episode of Industry Chat or whatever
talk.
We're going to call it, do you have anything you'd like to ask Bradford or I? Because I'm a gaffer and grip, and he does AD work. And
So for me, I work mostly on the writing end of things. So me then coming to set, I met both of you guys on If I Can't Have You.
Correct.
And so I guess, how do you approach? Like, I approach it with, here's a script, this is the blueprint, this is what we're doing. And then when you guys get the script, like, how do you approach like the lighting? Like, how are you going to how do you approach the project, I guess, from that end?
I think the proper way to answer that question would be you going first as the AD.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it depends on my role,
comes
but
after.
the fast answer is, as a grip, you don't, because you are the direct product of your superiors, right? So it's not even important most times for a grip to get the script, so they usually just get the sides. But as an AD, it's a logistical approach, right? So when I get a script, I read it through once. And that is for entertainment purposes. That is for just me to experience the script as a viewer would watching the movie. And I have to try and think of it only in that way so that I can stay focused on what that provides the viewer. Because I have to understand the story so that I can assist the director in the decisions that come on set. Secondly, I will then read it through again, but this time now there's a prop, there's a gun. Oh, he smacks him in the face. Okay, so I have to now think of it in an element point of view. What is it going to take?
Stunts, locations.
Right. In order
Special
for
effects.
this picture that I've now elaborated in my head to get up on screen, what is required? Because I then have to break all that down. Your scripts are broken down in 1/8 pages. I use Movie Magic to do that. It's a scheduling software that, like I said, it just does it for you. And then Final Draft, I make it a requirement. There are a lot of writers that still haven't invested in Final Draft.
Yeah, please do that.
I highly recommend just getting a Final Draft. It's a one-time cost at the moment. We just looked into some Movie Magic software for budgeting for Nightcap, and they no longer sell it. It's now a subscription, so it's now SaaS. So it's like, hey, buy it now, so that you have it. Because even if you don't get
offering a lifetime subscription, buy it before they go monthly.
We found out with Final Draft, it's not like the updates are only available to like the end of your version, right? So. But that's fine, because really all you need it for is writing the script. It helps format for you. When I get Celtics scripts, they don't have scene numbers, so all of this is important to me because I have to then approach the script in a way that's not in any sort of order. So I have to fully understand what's going on in each scene, what makes it happen, who needs to know about what. All of that information is broken down into spreadsheets or through the software to help us delineate the schedule. Because then my next step is to put the puzzle together. Where are all the locations? How can I shoot these locations? What scenes all happen at this one location? Can I fit it all in one day? Is it going to take 2 days? If it takes 2 days, is it 1.5 days? Can I fit another location here? And now it's a matter of moving things around in the best guess way. It's all a hypothesis because
And
there's
all
so
that
many moving parts.
you could do your best job, and all of a sudden, an actor can't make this one half a
right.
day.
Yes.
And
you know, I'm adjusting
move the
schedules
jigsaw
all the way
puzzle
up to a
around.
shoot day many
Yeah.
times. So I do that first read through. That's for entertainment. My second read through is for those elements and so forth. The third read through is to try and make sure I understand it. It's for more familiarity. From there, I look at after that. I don't read the script as a whole ever again. From there, I'm looking at it in reference to. So now I'm looking at scene 13.
Right.
This is what and who and where I need scene 13. And now I'm associating scene 13, 14, 18, 20, and 23 together because those are the ones that are all happening.
Right. So basically, once he gets his preliminary schedule locked down and he starts trying to schedule everything, he calls in the department heads, which would be the director of photography.
I send all the department
gaffer,
heads,
the key grip,
all of the documents.
director.
Yep, all the documents that I've then prepared. So they're what's called the
Prop
dudes.
master.
The day out of days. The day out of days has everything broken down. So for someone like
Art
Joe,
director.
if we have special lights, so
we
if
do
he
a tech
needs,
scout.
Yep. If he needs to have police lights, if he needs to have party lights, if he needs to have certain things that, as an AD and as someone with the experience in lighting, I'm not there to make any calls. But if something comes ahead, like, oh hey, we're gonna need a fog machine, and I put that down in the notes, he then has the day out of days to know that on these days I'm expected to have these things.
Right,
No-
and I do own a fog machine, but maybe you need one that has a larger capacity or a smaller capacity. Maybe you need one with fine haze, and I have more of an outdoor like wood fogger or party fogger, right? So like I can rent those things for the day at a decent price with connections I have in the industry, and you can get them for a decent price even without my connections. I just happen to get it for like $5 to $10 cheaper for the day. It's not even huge. But a lot of that's because I go pick it up, like because they will deliver sometimes if it's the right amount of money and the right amount of equipment. But yeah, it's really helpful to have all those things laid out properly by a proper AD like Bradford or Chris Warren. Some people I know that do that. Margaret Wazinski is a great one as well. She did great on Good Thief when we worked on that, and she's done so great on other projects. As a gaffer, tech scout is important, right? But also, like, reading the script is helpful, but not completely necessary. I enjoy doing it because I enjoy the storytelling and being a part of it, but it's important to know what emotions the light
Right.
has to capture and to work with the DP in conjunction to get the shot composition to be just what the director and the writer and the DP want, right? So I have to understand those emotions, and that can be done with a proper breakdown of the script. I don't necessarily have to read the full script, but I do personally enjoy doing that.
Context helps.
It
It really
does.
depends on the type of script. One script may have an overall tone, so all you need to do is light the room.
But my job is more technical based. I need to know
Right.
about power, availability, and consumption, and like how many lights I'm going to need. Like, are we doing like a long scene down like a hallway or through the woods where I need to put up 12 lights
Right.
that aren't even on the scene we're filming? They're just for ambiance in the background. Like, I need to know these things ahead of time. And if it's that elaborate, I would need to show up an hour before everybody else to do all these crazy things. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a beautiful dance that we have to do.
I remembered what I wanted to ask you. When approaching characters, how do you develop your characters?
So I personally, I give every character a diagnosis. I do. Even if it's not in the script, like I feel like every character, every human being has something that there's something that they're battling or they're facing or they're, something like that. So that looks like an OCD, that looks like ADD, that looks like borderline personality. Okay, so then I start there and then I work backwards.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I approach
What's
that.
their idiosyncrasy?
Yeah.
And how do I make it more
Yeah, like for Nightcap,
relatable?
the one of the characters speaks in malapropisms, you know, that was what we knew, that's what we knew we wanted for Penny. So we knew she spoke in malapropisms, and then we worked backwards from that. Like, okay, well, she also does crossword puzzles, and she also does this. Well, you know, it all stemmed from like this kind of diagnosis that we gave.
Interesting. If I recall correctly, I don't know if you did for Nightcap, but I know with either Chasing the Ghost or most definitely with If I Have You, If I Can't Have You, playlists, character playlists.
Yeah, I do that too. So like we'll kind of just I'll write or I'll put down songs that kind of encapsulate the character, and while I'm writing their scenes, I'll play that in the background. We did for Nightcap, because the bar is such a prevalent kind of character. The bar is. We did a playlist for the bar. We call it Penny's Jukebox.
Music is a bit of a contentious topic right now for me, because I'm having a difficult time with. I don't want the soundtrack to just be loud. I don't want me, because it's the bar, right? At one point we turned the jukebox off, but that's just, you know, at that particular point. So it's like, do we have absolute silence? So right now, how and when we use music is well in the deep of my head, because approaching with a low budget,
I want to use all local musicians for that.
Right.
So.
Right. But it's a matter of how.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I do. I do playlists. I like when I'm directing. I love to have the actor. Like I'll give every actor like a playlist for their character.
That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah,
I remember the first time you broached this subject with me. It was on If I Can't Have You, and you were playing the character Oliver, and you were like, I was riding with you somewhere. You're like, you don't mind? I put on my Oliver character playlist. I need to get into like we were going to the store between scenes or something.
Yeah,
cigarettes, I think. And yeah, I was like, no, go ahead. And then you explained to me why,
right.
And it was just so fascinating.
Yeah, and that playlist was called 2468. How do you know your kids are straight? And that playlist, because Oliver was just like the
most flamboyant.
He's the gay your parents warned you about. You know what I mean? Totally. So like, so that's why I named it that. And every time that before I would go on set, I would just put my headphones on and like play that, because that works for me. I know not every actor, it doesn't work for every actor, but I know that for me, like music is just everything.
I was gonna say, it's just like we were talking about in the episode previously here, is the importance of music to character. I've always, the music I listen to, I've always considered the soundtrack of my life, right?
Yeah.
And when it's on and something's happening and this happens to be the song that's playing, like it's all relative to me, and I know it's only important to me, but I can see where, as an actor or as a writer or even as a director, to get into the character's head, you what are they listening to? And I think that's brilliant. When I first learned that about you, it was... Did you do one for everyone on Nightcap?
No, just the bar. We did one for the bar.
For the bar.
Nice.
Okay. That's the one you sent us then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
we just had different ideas of which is fine, because it still worked
It
out.
actually helped us nail down the bar as a character,
right,
as a collective.
Which was very important for us.
And it's funny, because my wife... If you're going to check her out on Instagram, at Liz Crow Author, she's still trying to nail down her first book, but she uses music almost exclusively to get her in a mood of whatever the book or character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has different playlists for each character in her book, or different cities or different chapters of the book, depending on what mood she's going for.
Yeah, it really helps.
Do you do writing exercises of any kind?
I don't, and I kind of wish that I did sometimes.
Are there any that you know of? Because I would want to participate in something like that, but I don't even know where to start, and I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that
I don't want to.
There's
be
a lot
a writer.
There's prompts. A lot of there's books of prompts, and it'd be like 100 prompts to get you started. And I have written a few short stories from prompts, and I actually, what I did once. A writing teacher actually did this for me. We did a fortune cookie story. So we broke open a fortune cookie, and the fortune, we had to drop that into our story. It had to either be like the theme of the story or a sentence in the story, and every week it would just evolve. Like, okay, so now you don't.
So there are multiple fortune cookies used in one.
So piece? one fortune cookie for the whole piece.
For the whole piece.
And then
what evolved about it?
Like it would be like, okay, this week, it would be one story that we would write at the top of every class, and it would be like, okay, this week, figure out a way to make the theme more for the B plot or something like that, or like figure out or actually write this into the story, like write this as a sentence into the story, drop it in, but it can't look like it's like it's got to be organic. Like, so that would evolve, like what you did with the story, like the story. Okay, now add another character to this, or now take away a character, or kill off a character. So like that kind of thing.
I'm gonna let Quinn tap in real quick.
Oh,
New, rookie grip here.
Bring
coming
it
in
in.
to talk about industry.
I don't want to interrupt you. Continue.
Oh,
your
no,
tangent.
that's it. So I don't do writing exercises as much as I should. I do know that they're incredibly helpful. But yeah, I can't really give you a specific one or a book or something like that.
do you exercise free writing at all?
Yeah, I do. When I'm doing character bios, I'll just like set a timer, and I'll say like, okay, you got 15 minutes. Write down everything you can about this character, everything that you know about this character, and I'll do that, like free writing like that.
Mostly for characters, or do you do it for story?
Mostly for characters. I believe that story comes from character. So I get the characters first, and then the story comes from that.
So I want to welcome Quinn to the table. Hi, Quinn.
Hello. Hey, Patreon.
Hey. So, Quinn, you've been on how many productions now?
9 now.
And that was since
September of 2022.
Wow,
Nice.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about how you got in.
So, in high school, I loved movies just like all of us. And I went to MPI, which is a film school here in Troy, Michigan. A lot of the younger guys, at least that I've been on set, are MPI guys. But I also kind of always wanted to serve in the military, so I kind of figured like split the difference, and I'll join like a reserve force. And then I ended up choosing the National Guard, and I came back in 2020, and I couldn't really get on any sets, and I kind of worked at a dead end job for a year, and then was going to move to Grand Rapids, quit my job, and then all of a sudden I got on like a couple sets.
Yep.
Because I finally wasn't employed, so it wasn't like, oh, I got this little thing, and then it's like, oh, I can only get like 3 days off. Like, no, I can't do it. But I was open and I was free, and I met on this one set I met Dylan Sides, Rowe, and Phil, and Chris Warren. And I just bet because they seemed cool, so I was like, hey, can I come on your next project? And they were like, no, we don't have any room. I was like, I do it for free. So let me intern. I just want to learn more about gaffing, And then Dylan was like, okay, and we met on All the Shine. I met Joe. I met you guys.
Yep.
And in like 2 days, they had a position. I wasn't like the intern. I was the grip or whatever. They moved Zach to like second AC.
Yep.
And kind of the rest is history, Joe became like a grip mentor of mine. He hurt his shoulder, and I kind of saved his butt a little bit on that movie.
You did. You sure as shit did.
And yeah, I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. Waking up every morning and actually loving your job and not dreading your mere existence is just such a joy. And the fact that I actually get to do this as a job is just I basically gave up, if I'm being honest. It was my dream to do it. I went to school for it, and then I couldn't get on sets, and I kind of just ate the shit sandwich for a year and I basically gave up. And if it wasn't for a few lucky little instances and worming my way into where I wanted to be, I don't know where I would be if I wasn't gripping, but I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. It took me a long time. I ate a lot of shit sandwiches. I was a very young father, so while I wanted to do film early, oh, that sounds better. Still working shit out.
You get that gas out?
Yeah, no, not that. I'm adjusting my mic. Yeah, I didn't think there was any work here, and I thought I was gonna have to go to school. Being of a different generation, film was a whole lot different. It was a lot less accessible as far as going out and grabbing a camera and shooting some shit. But the Will of Joe, never ending, he found some work, and through him I was on If I Can't Have You, and it's the rest is history from there. I came in as a grip. My IMDb credit and film credit for that is gaffer, but there were several of us, and I was a grip. I was not a gaffer.
Yeah, no, it was the weirdest thing because I mean, we were talking about If I Can't Have You, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was not a gaffer. I mean, I helped Josh grow as a gaffer, but I came on as utility and audio,
Boom mixer,
and I did
boom
I did some stunts. Yeah, like I was technically boom op, and I did special effects, blood makeup, and stuff like that. I was just a utility. Tennille just saw a talent in me and wanted me to be a part of it, and I was just there to bring out the best in everybody. And I feel like we all bred out the best in each other, though.
Oh,
you know
that set will forever in my mind be like the paramount, the that's the word I'm looking for. It's
the pinnacle.
That's the word I was looking for. The pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me, Joe Magic, mind reader.
It was. I mean, first off, Tennille is an incredible producer and incredibly organized, and I
love that. Like she's like at a meeting recently, she was like, Fred said something about how organized she is and how pretty her paperwork is, and she like flips to one, she goes, but not this one, and it's just the prettiest like organized thing, but it had scratch marks through it because she had finished it, but that was the ugly part to them, that she scribbled out, but you completed the list, Tennille.
Yeah.
Why is it then ugly? That's a happy scribble.
Yeah,
but it still looked more artistic and like clean than like even this little just 3 movies looking like chicken scratch. No artistry to it whatsoever, except for maybe the pen.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that was the pinnacle. Tennille did a fabulous job putting that together. We're completely derailed now. I don't even know where that tangent was taking us. Thank you, Joe. I guess we can always count on you for that.
I guess that means the counter's getting to the end if I'm getting that ridiculous.
I mean, if you're trying to say that the conversation's over and we're wrapping up, we can do that. Matt, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
No, not really. Sorry, Joe. I think that it's tough. This is not an easy, fun. I mean, can be fun, but being in film is really tough. And I think that if you don't absolutely love it, then don't do it.
Yeah. Don't come in with the mind that you want to quantify your earnings.
Right. I mean, that can happen.
Add up.
That can happen. You know what I mean? Eventually.
So,
but
the approach I take to it, and being in the director's department, you deal a lot with PAs, and a lot of PAs are sometimes first day on set, or this is their first set, or they're very green in experience, and so they do a lot of complaining. They don't realize that our days are going to be long. They don't realize that you weren't going to just work 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that your day might not start until 3 p.m., which means, yes, you're here till 3 a.m. So you get a lot of that negativity and this sucks, it sucks. So I always come back to telling them, like, listen, I've had shitty jobs. I've had some seriously shitty jobs. This is not one of them.
right.
No,
It's just not.
They feed you. You're around some of the most interesting people you could ever meet. Every show. I don't care.
You're a part of something new
project
every
I'm on.
day.
I meet great people every day.
Every day something's new. If it's not a new person that you meet, if it's not a new experience that you have, if it's not a new location. I've had office jobs, I've had warehouse jobs, I've had retail store jobs. Like, when it comes to like lack of repetition, other than the fact that it is like I don't want to directly compare it to the military, but like there's every department has a role, every department has a job, every department has a purpose, and they know what that is. So there is a continuity aspect to it, but outside of that, every other element is new every day.
In the chaos of the moment, real life is still happening in real time, and no matter how hard you plan, you can't think of everything. So you try to, and then we make magic.
Yeah.
Well, on that beautiful statement, we are going to say goodbye. Matt, again, thank you for staying extra late and having this conversation with us. Thanks for coming out and joining us on the Unorthodox Film Podcast. Thanks again to Quinn for coming by, helping us set up, keeping us company. Let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. You all have a good night.
Thank you.